On with our program. Our speaker today is Luke Kloberdanz, and Luke has been involved with the Ice Age Trail Alliance since 2001 when he participated in his first trail maintenance day. This experience led him to larger Alliance trail building efforts. In 2003, during his summer break from teaching fourth grade, Luke thru-hiked the entire 1,200-mile trail. In 2013, he joined the Alliance staff full-time as Outreach and Education Manager, and he became the Alliance's Executive Director and CEO earlier this year. He's going to share his journey and talk with us about how he went from a trail building volunteer to thru-hiker to leading this organization that conserves, creates, maintains, and promotes the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. We look forward to your presentation, Luke, and we've made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way of saying thanks for speaking with us today. I also wanted to mention that we will have Q&A with the speaker at the end as time allows, but please wait for the microphone if you have a question. Let's welcome Luke Kloberdanz to our podium.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Rotarians, for having me today. What a great opportunity to come here and talk with you about the Ice Age National Scenic Trail and the Ice Age Trail Alliance. Before I get started, can I get a show of hands of how many of you have hiked on the trail? I'm not going to be able to lie very much today. Okay, how many of you, put your hand up if you've hiked 500 miles. Marta? All 1,000 plus miles. All right. I'm in big trouble now. So, yes, as mentioned, Charles, thank you for the introduction. Luke Kloberdanz, Executive Director and CEO. I took over on January 1st from this gentleman over here. Mike, would you please raise your hand? I think he follows me around because he wants his job back, but he can't have it. So honored to be here in your company. So the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. A little bit of background first before we talk about some other things. 1,000-mile footpath tracing significant glacial features throughout Wisconsin. So I'm an Iowa boy, and I came to Wisconsin, and I heard people talking about these things called eskers and drumlins and cames and kettles, and I had no idea what they were talking about. I thought it was a foreign language. It was like bubbler to me. And I came to Wisconsin as a teacher. So I taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade in Lodi, where I developed a charter school and worked with little ones, and felt like getting them out was important, so we decided to get out and go for a hike. I saw these funny little yellow signs going right through downtown. I said, well, let's follow those little yellow signs. And next thing you know, we're in the Lodi Marsh. And that really opened up some exploration. But before we get into that, I want to show you some of those funny shapes, or landforms that you see that we protect. So the Ice Age National Scenic Trail was designated by Congress to protect the story of glaciation. And that really is, in a lot of ways, one of the first major climate event stories of our planet. And so those shapes that you see, the kettle, the erratic, the came, all of those were left by the glacier. And our job is to protect them, create a space to get to them, and work with our community to get people out onto those places and shapes and landforms. So as mentioned previously, I took a long walk. It was 2003. I was having what I call a quarter-life crisis. I was about 25 years old or so, and I said, I got to go figure out what I'm going to do, what I'm going to be in life. So I decided to take and follow that red line, and I hiked it the proper way, which is from east to west, and I had a lot of people that I would talk to beforehand. So you got to wind back a little bit. In 2003. We didn't have a guidebook. We now have a guidebook to follow. We didn't have an atlas. We now have an atlas for hikers to follow. I didn't have one of these things to help me navigate or record or share my story. I loaded up a backpack with about 25 pounds, including food and water, and had my wife drop me off in Potawatomi State Park in the northeast part of the state. And I said, See you around. And I started walking. And as I was walking, you know, I just started volunteering, barely knew about this trail, and I really gained an appreciation for the landscapes. And I went on that hike to get away from people, but it turned out that people were the best thing for me. People in Wisconsin welcomed me into their home. I met aunts and uncles of people when I just stopped by to say hello and see if I could borrow their water or camp in their backyard. And for 47 days, I learned something about myself. I learned that all those complaints I had and all those reasons why I was trying to figure out who I was going to be, turns out I was just being a real big baby, and I needed to get over it because life's beautiful, and it was a great experience to slow down, to see the world through a different way, a slower way, and that was the path and journey that really put me where I am today with the Ice Age Trail Alliance. I never thought that when I was hiking through the Northwoods of Wisconsin that I'd be, speaking with all of you today as Executive Director and CEO. So when I went, as I mentioned, I had a backpack. I walked among all the ticks and mosquitoes and had adventures and repeatedly. So you'll see in the slideshow, in the upper right-hand corner, I want to talk real quickly about trail magic. So long-distance hikers have this thing they call trail magic, where things just happen for good reasons. And I was leaving Whitewater Lake Campground, and as I was walking away, I see these big thunderheads rolling in from the west. And when you're on foot and there's no real place to go, you just put on your rain jacket and fight through it. I started walking, and I'm walking along, and I'm on a road connector, so I'm having to walk all the sections that aren't complete. And I see this well in the upper right-hand corner of the slide, and I have this water. And next to that water is a little tiny shelter. And just as soon as the clouds opened up and lightning started crashing down, I was able to get under that shelter. And I saw trees falling all around me. It was a pretty significant storm, but I felt safe and protected. That well was dug by Adam Channing by hand, and it flows strongly to this day. So when I was done with the storm, when it passed through, I dumped out all of my water and filled up with that water because it had to be magical for something. For some reason, it just really saved me that day. Shortly after my hike in 2010, my wife is a painter and an artist, and she said, hey, I think I'd like to do a set of pieces based off of landforms. So I said, okay, let's go hike the Ice Age Trail. And so she said, okay, here's all the stuff I need. I said, so I'm a pack mule is what this boils down to. I'm going to carry all your stuff. And that was the case. But on that hike, I learned to slow down and appreciate the world around me. When I was walking, even though I was moving slowly, I was still covering 25 miles a day. With my wife, we would cover 10 because we'd sit by a stream and she'd take pictures and draw. And I learned a different way to walk. And that's where we have a saying that everyone hikes their own hike. And that's where that really was ingrained in me by going through and walking slowly with my wife. From that experience of hiking, I said, the hooks were set on me, and I had to get back. Even more, I had just started dabbling and volunteering, and I started taking that side of the work a little more seriously. I joined something that we called our Mobile Skills Crew, a group of trained trail builders that travel all over the state, and they build trail together. They lead other volunteers who don't have experience building trail, doing that work. And I started working with some of my students. We'd take our students out. We'd have them do service work that was a requirement of the charter school that I helped develop in Lodi. They had to do this service work, and we would take them out. So you see me teaching some of my fourth grade pupils who are all probably like 20-something now there when we were at Gibraltar Rock. And a big piece of my work as a volunteer was teaching others. And that included all age groups, not just the little ones, but working among our crew and with our volunteers to enhance our skills. We believe that the Ice Age National Scenic Trail is a world-class hiking trail. And in order to do that, we need to take care of it as such. But perhaps most significant to me after I hiked those 1,167 miles, which doesn't roll off the tongue quite as easily as the 1,200, was getting my students out. So a friend and colleague of mine, Chris McNeil, in Lodi, we taught together. We got our list of students that were in need of remediation at the end of the year, right? So these are the kids that are struggling in one aspect or another of their education, and we looked at our list, And we said the last thing these kids need is to have their head beat against the same wall and expect a different outcome. So we're not going to go put them in a desk all summer long to learn. We're going to get out and we're going to move. We wrote a grant through Sauk Prairie Healthcare, and they gave us $1,000 for a bus. We said, all right, for a week, we're going to take kids out, we're going to hike them. 1 week straight. They went home at night. We're not that crazy. But we pick them up at 8 in the morning, we drop them off at 4 in the afternoon, and it costs the parents $0. And we'd hike them all day. And so Chris and I are planning this event, and we had to work through the administrative layers to get it done, and we got a lot of support from the Ice Age Trail Alliance to do this. I think Mike found some old shirts in a back closet he let us have for the kids, and we said, let's go for it. Let's just take them out. And what we found through that experience is we flipped the classroom. The kids that needed that guidance, right? The kids who had trouble sitting still or following the rules, let's say, right? Were the ones who excelled. They were suddenly the ones out front. They were the ones who were confident. And that experience really made it seem worthwhile to us. So in 2008, we did that. That program is still going strong today. I'll talk a little bit more about it. But we started with 30 kids. We had some high schoolers come up to us and say, hey, this sounds cool. Can we do it? We said, yeah, sure. You're going to be a mentor. How about that? So we had mentors in high school. We had practicing mentors in middle school, and then we called our little kids future mentors. And you can see some of the pictures, some of the adventures they get into. They had to journal every day. They read really high-level scientific text about geology. We didn't underestimate them. Number one rule in teaching, never underestimate them. So then, 2013, my son was born, and I said, I think I'm going to stay home, be a stay-at-home dad, or not sure what I was going to do, but I couldn't give my energy to my classroom and my family. And the same amount, I should say. So I was talking with Mike, and I said, he said, how about working with us? We could use an outreach and education manager, someone to bring Saunters, our program, into the fold of the Alliance and make it something that we do. And so after some negotiations, I said I agreed. I realized I should have asked for a lot more because Mike was very giving. But I came on board full time, and I joined a staff of, I think, 8 at the time. We currently have 22 people on staff. And I'm going to share with you, the next one is a video because I think it captures the essence of what we do. This is a dated video, so you'll see Mike up there, not me as executive director. It's from 2019, not that long ago. But please enjoy this, and hopefully you see the beauty that we try to protect.
One of only 11 national scenic trails in the country, the Ice Age Trail is a 1,000-mile footpath contained entirely within the state of Wisconsin. Ancient glaciers carved the path through rocky terrain, open prairies, and peaceful forests. Now outdoor lovers of all ages rely on the Ice Age Trail for a place to unplug, relax, volunteer, and enjoy nature. The Yellow Blaze Trail is suitable for adventures on foot, including walking, hiking, backpacking, trail running, and snowshoeing, over a wide range of distances and landscapes. Much of the trail offers solitude, balanced with walks right down the main streets of charming Wisconsin communities. The Ice Age Trail Alliance, a volunteer and member-based nonprofit organization, has been working since 1958 to create this premier outdoor experience. Alliance staff and volunteers, along with its partners, are dedicated to creating, supporting, and protecting the trail. The Ice Age Trail would be little more than a line on a map if it wasn't for the dedication of volunteers. Over 2,000 people contribute more than 80,000 hours each year to build new segments, maintain and renew existing ones, restore landscapes, and lead trail events for communities.
The core of our work is done by volunteers. We'd be nothing without the volunteers that we have.
You just feel really good about it, that you know you gave back and you put a lot of hard work to maintain the trail, and it feels good.
Our award-winning Mobile Skills Crew program is widely recognized for its skilled volunteers, trained in advanced trail construction and crew leadership.
Ice Age is held to the highest standard in terms of environmental compliance because the Ice Age National Scenic Trail is both a federal and a state-assisted project.
The
work we do will last for generations to come.
When people take in the natural beauty along the Ice Age Trail, they are experiencing firsthand the benefits of our conservation work. Our volunteers remove invasive species and restore habitats, revitalizing the landscape.
The Ice Age Trail helps interpret the geology from the last glaciation. So when you hike along the trail, you get things like cames or eskers, moraines, drumlins. Land conservation is extremely important for the Ice Age Trail. It's important to have land underneath it that is protected in perpetuity.
Both children and adults who spend time in nature are happier, less stressed, and better able to focus. We're passionate about getting people of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities out on the trail. It's a place for grand adventures and growing in confidence. Here you can deepen friendships, strengthen family ties, and reconnect with what's most important to you.
I call the trail my church. It's really a place that I come to just let go of whatever's hanging on. It's just a really awesome place to come and just let go.
The Ice Age Trail Alliance has had an increasing effort toward outreach efforts to the communities that the trail passes through.
The Ice Age Trail, it does wind through these urban areas, and they can just really get out into nature and not have to drive that far away.
Over the decades, the Ice Age Trail has grown into one of the country's premier long-distance footpaths because citizens across Wisconsin and beyond have done their part to support it. Join our community and choose to become part of the Ice Age Trail's legacy. Give a donation, lead a hike, help build sustainable trail. There's something for everyone to do, on or off the trail. Join us.
So as mentioned in the video, one of the core of our work is based off of volunteers. Last year, about 1,800 volunteers donated almost 85,000 volunteer hours. That equals about 41 full-time employees that we manage. So our volunteers are guided by our staff, and our staff have all those people to make sure they are educated, trained, taken care of. And we have several sayings when it comes to our work, which is be safe, have fun, then maybe we'll build some trail. But safety is always first. So our work really is broken down into program areas. Conserving the land is a big one right now for us, and has been for quite some time. You know, we work with the Wisconsin DNR and the National Park Service to protect land, and right now we are the ones protecting properties. Last year we protected a record of 12 properties all on our own. We manage north of 80 properties. And that's all done by Claire Finucane in our office, who goes around and looks at each one of those properties every year. But in addition to buying the land, we restore it to what we call a pre-settlement era. And so in the photograph you see on the left, there's Steve Pence, our burn boss, is out doing a prescribed burn at the Swamp Lovers Preserve just west of Cross Plains. We have volunteer events where people come and harvest native seed that we then use to replant prairies on the property that we protect. We are an accredited land trust, which means we hold land at the highest standard on a national basis. So we're really honored to be one of those accredited land trusts, and it does not come without a significant amount of work and resources needed to do that. If we do it right, this is what we get to see. We see the bur oak, and then followed by drumlins, and you get a really chance to see the glacial features that we protect. Or perhaps you get to see the echinacea and other vast prairies in this part of the state. Then we also have to do more than just protect the land. We have to create a meaningful and whimsical experience as you navigate the land. So our trail construction projects are hosted. We host about 12 on our own, but we have 19 volunteer chapters throughout the state that are continually hosting volunteer events. The Dane County chapter, I think, has a volunteer event every single weekend of the year. And that is an incredible amount of work and dedication that we get from people. We do things like stonework, we build dirt trails, we also build boardwalk. Last year we built 4.5 miles of brand new trail. A half a mile of that was boardwalk. And I feel sorry for the next executive director who's going to have to replace all those one day. And again, if we do it right, this is what you get to see at Devil's Lake, or you get to see the boardwalk, the new boardwalk that will keep your boots dry. And then So we protect the land, we build the trail, and then we need to get people out there. And this is really what I guess it looks kind of like a NASCAR, but this is our slide that represents all of our different programs. I mentioned Saunters to you, the program that I started when I was a teacher in 2008 with those 30 kids. That program still is going strong. That's typically held during the summer months. We work with a lot of different school districts across the state to get kids out. We also pay for the busing so that the districts don't have to pick up that cost. We provide training to the teachers in terms of hiking. We basically give them a package on here's where you go, here's what you're going to see when you're there, enjoy your time, and most importantly, this is where you can find the bathrooms. In addition to Saunters, sort of underneath the umbrella of Saunters is something called Think Outside. And Think Outside is a program where this is, any fundraisers in the room appreciate this, but the National Park Foundation came to us and said, how much money would it take to get out 10,000 fourth graders? I said, boy, well, I don't know, let me do some, $100,000? They said, let's do it. Good deal. And so Think Outside is a program that we developed thanks to the National Park Foundation, and that is run during the school year. We work with many school districts across the state and beyond where we provide that same sort of Saunters experience only in one day instead of 5 days, where we will provide a pre-lesson to the classroom, to the teachers. We will go into the room and talk, or our staff will. We get the kids out on a hike, and then they have to reflect on it. And then once the teacher sends us their reflections, then we pay for the bus. That's how we make sure we get the circle squared there. And that program, that project has really been incredible work for us. We started off with about 7,000 kids. Then there was this pandemic that came along, and that shut everything down for them. But now we're happy to say that this year, thanks to bringing aboard Milwaukee Public Schools, we are now going to surpass 10,000 fourth graders out on the trail this year. In addition to those educational programs, we have something called our Ice Age Trail Community Program. We have 19 trail communities throughout the state. These are special partnerships with municipalities highlighting the trail's impact on a community. So we know that when we build a trail to a community, we know that we are improving the lives of the people that live there, whether it's through their mental and physical wellness, whether it is through the value of their property with a hiking trail nearby. So we want to highlight that work. You know, we have an identity problem in some ways with our economic impact to the state, where many times if there's a group of bicyclists that come by, or ATVs or snowmobiles, people know they're there. But many hikers, you know, that's the cool way to dress for some people now, so they don't know that we're there hiking. But we know that based off of a 2019 study, we had 2.3 million people using the trail. That number, I'm willing to bet, has more than doubled since the pandemic. We know that we are making a $313 million investment in the communities that we serve. We want to share that knowledge with the people that support us in those communities. We also have something called our Mammoth Hike Challenge. If you haven't heard of this, I hope you join us in October. We encourage you to hike 40-some miles, visit 3 trail communities, and we'll give you a patch. Heck of a deal. The Mammoth Hike Challenge was started during the pandemic. Department of Tourism came to us and said, you know, we got these joint effort marketing programs. What do you think? Do you have any ideas? We put our heads together. Amy Lord, my colleague, and I got together and we started writing this grant, and we said, you know, let's go October. Perfect time to hike. It's going to be the 40th anniversary of the trail being designated. Let's go ahead and have a program. Amy said, great. What kind of goal should we have for number of people that are going to participate? I said 5,000. She said, you're crazy. I said, Amy, we're all going to be dead in a couple months anyway. Who cares? And turns out that year we got 7,200 people. And we know that 60-some% of those people have never been part of the organization, or very, very few of them have been on the trail. We kind of thought we'd see this big dive in people using the trail since the pandemic and people returning to work, but it's stayed. And it's increased in the first quarter of this year, actually. So we're happy to see that people are continuing to find that wellness on the trail. Another program we have is called Trail Tessa. This is a program we hold to get women and girls into the outdoors, specifically women and girls. They do trail building, they do weeding and wine. So you go out and you pull weeds out of our prairie and drink wine. Tough gig. And other ways that we get them out for enjoyment on the trail. And it's a space that we hope to provide that makes people feel safe and welcome in the outdoor space, and comfortable using their chainsaw for the first time, some of them. And then our last program we have is called Cold Cache. So this is like geocaching, only instead of finding a trinket on the trail, which we don't really care for, you go out and you find a landform. And that way you're not leaving something behind, but you can go out and find those funny named features. But you know, this program, or these programs, really are about putting people on the trail. We believe that when people put their feet on that landscape and travel through it at a slower pace, they become invested and they become better for it. So mental and physical wellness is really at the core of what we do. With that, I want to thank you for having me. Charles, I hope I tightened all that in. Yeah. Sure. And I can take a couple questions. Yes.
Hello, wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
So is the trail continuous, or are there still big gaps that need to be filled in?
Good question. Yes, there are gaps. And size of the gaps vary across the state. That's one of our main focuses when we protect land, is closing those gaps. So we like to close the gap, but we also like to provide a resource for a hiker. Perhaps it's a place to camp, or it's another amenity that will make them sort of be able to go along that route. To give you some perspective, in the last 20 years, it's been 20 years since I hiked the trail. The people I work with say it was so long ago, it doesn't count anymore. But I told them, well, I built the other miles. So there are about 125 miles we've added in 20 years. This year, our goal is adding 15 miles of trail. So we're hoping to increase that pace. Whoa, sorry, yes. Yeah,
Sorry.
one of you, go ahead.
Hi, thanks so much.
Thank you.
What a great presentation. So I'm doing my first pack-in September. I'm going west to east, though. I'm curious as to why you said east to west, because now I'm questioning everything that I'm planning.
Well, it's just backwards. No, I'm kidding. There's no wrong way. It's kind of a joke in the office that I always say, well, that's the proper way to hike it. But there is no wrong way. You'll be fine. I chose, we actually blaze both sides of the tree, so you'll still be able to find your markers. Yeah, you'll be okay. No, it's just a preference. Good question.
So kind of a dumb question, but like when you get to that circle in the middle, like what counts, or if you're going to do the whole trail, do you have to do a roundabout in that circle?
If you are, good question. Sorry, Charles, this one's going to take a few minutes. So there's the donut hole. The eastern side of that, we call it the bifurcation. The eastern side goes by John Muir's boyhood home. The western side goes by Leopold's shack and takes in some unglaciated territory. So if you are a thru-hiker, which is what I did, so you're starting on one end, you're ending at the other, you hike it continuously, you get to pick a side. You actually, I think section hikers also get to pick a side, but most people tend to do both because they're addicted and they want to walk it. So you get to pick either way.
On the Appalachian Trail, everybody has a trail name. What's your trail name?
It's inappropriate. I can't share on the mic. Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's a beautiful day. You can go out and take a hike, right? Thank you, Luke. That's a great presentation. I hope you'll join us next week when we will hear a program about how wheelchair ballroom dancing empowers individuals. And just a reminder that we're going to have the Black History Walking Tour immediately following this. Meet in the lobby. I think you can still show up, even if you didn't sign up. So meet in the lobby. And thank you all for attending today. We are adjourned.